The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
So the drop in crypto markets prompted almost $300 million in liquidations across several crypto futures. What's going on in the markets? What factors are driving price action right now? Let's turn to our first guest to discuss is Allbridge co-founder Andriy Velykyy. Good morning, Andriy.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on the holiday week and on, the real end of 2021. It's a perfect timing to discuss what's coming up next year. So let's start with that. We've had a crazy year in crypto, total roller coaster across the markets. Let's talk a little bit. Let's just start going straight into the future. What are you looking at for 2022? What are some of the big trends that you are anticipating either in Bitcoin or in altcoins or just in anything? What are the big stories to watch out for?
I may be a little bit biased because we are the bridge connecting blockchains together, but generally speaking, I see a high demand for multi-chain technologies. People are constantly looking for ways to use the best of various blockchains. Other than that, of course, NFT is really hyped right now, as well as Metaverse is developing rapidly, and we will for sure see more about those techs in the next year.
So when you say multi-chain technology, something that comes to mind immediately is something like Polkadot, right? Or is that what you mean? Do you anticipate that we're going to see a lot of action in blockchain technologies that specialize in that kind of bridging technology?
I generally mean that people are tending to use more than a single blockchain for a number of reasons. And we see high demand for crossing from one chain to the other. So this particular service, it's becoming more and more popular. And also we see that a lot of other bridges are developing in the blockchain field. And while most of them support currently mostly Ether-like networks, machine enabling ones, but also there is a lot of growing interest for non-EVM chains, namely Solana has been showing us huge growth in this particular year, and we hope it would continue. I would also like probably to mention Near and Terra, which are also non-EVM-like, but they're growing fast, and a lot of users are going there and exploring the possibilities that they provide.
Interesting. Okay. And then just looking kind of at the larger market, looking at Bitcoin or Ether, what do you see as some of the main factors that could move price in 2022? So over this year, we saw various things. We saw regulatory news, for example. We saw the first ever Bitcoin futures ETF in the United States. Many people attributed these factors to pushing up the price. We saw Elon Musk doing all sorts of things on social media. So what are some of the possible causes that you're looking at next year that you think could move the price up or down?
Well, if we do believe that the history repeats itself and the crypto market goes in sort of circles, we see that after the Bitcoin price raises high so rapidly, like it did right now in this year, and like it did before, let's say in 2017, at the previous bull market, we generally tend to expect that crypto market will cool down a little bit, showing correction after such high growth. Maybe we are already in this particular phase. On the other hand, we see how much money has been, created and thrown into the market during the last year, during the last probably, and that inflation will enable people to seek other opportunities that are not so, that doesn't carry that much of inflation risks. And Bitcoin is a really, really good answer, really safe haven where capital can find its place and move to it. And the more money flows into crypto, then obviously the higher price gains we will see. So it's like, it's sort of balanced.
Yeah. When you talk about cooling down, though, or a correction, what kind of thing do you think would be likely to cause that, right? Because I think it's changed a little bit. Like in the past, it used to be that, China said something and then, Bitcoin crashed, and that's not really happening so much anymore. So is there anything in particular that you see as a risk factor that investors should be looking at that could cause a correction or a cooling off in 2022?
I mostly see regulatory risks that countries would tend to regulate crypto in general, and such parts of crypto ecosystem which are vital to today's market, like decentralized finance, which currently raises a lot of questions about how it should be regulated, how it should be done, and whether it is possible on the technical side at all, and those things relate that potentially affect the market in the wrong way. Let's say tomorrow, it's sort of imagination maybe on my side, but if we hear the news that from now on, Uniswap has everyone to pass KYC check, I'm not even sure how that would be possible based on how it works, right? We just need an Ether address. But let's say some governments will say you have to do this KYC check, otherwise we will just ban you or do some other sort of legal restrictions. And that potentially can be really bad news for the crypto market.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of people talk about those kinds of risks going forward. So just to shift perspective for a moment, I understand that you're in Ukraine now, which is a very unique perspective. And CoinDesk reported, I believe in 2020, and it was based on Chainalysis data, that Ukraine was at the top for global crypto adoption. It was a very surprising statistic. I don't think people really know how much crypto adoption there is in Ukraine. Again, I think that was in 2020. What is the situation there now? Is Ukraine still this kind of, paradise for crypto developers, and is it still kind of like a hotspot for crypto activity?
Yes, it's definitely a hotspot for crypto activity, and we see growing interest for crypto in general, and it's like booming from year to year. There are several reasons for that. First one is we have a lot of people with very strong technical background, so for the users, it's easier to grasp how they can use the crypto because of the education. The other important issue is that the average salary here in Ukraine is quite small, and that makes people look for probably more risky but more rewarding opportunities on the market. And because the general fund market here, it's not really popular, crypto seems like the best place for people to jump in. And also, I should probably mention that in Ukraine, historically, people don't really trust a lot the banking system because it failed people multiple times. So they also are trying to find some sort of alternative, which definitely crypto provides.
That's a really interesting point. That's an explanation for why crypto is booming in a lot of countries around the world, in particular in regions like Latin America, like a lack of trust in the banking system or a lack of trust in government. So just finally on Ukraine, as we also know, there's been some geopolitical tension in that region, namely with Russia. Does that have any impact at all on crypto adoption, either positive or negative? Because I could see it going in either direction, right? On the one hand, perhaps it would cause people to look at crypto as a kind of safe haven, but it might potentially also scare off some investors, or maybe it doesn't have an impact at all. How does geopolitical tensions fit into the Ukraine crypto story?
I would say that more and more Ukrainians are thinking what they will do in terms if situation gets really ugly, how easy is to flee the country I hope that doesn't happen, but if the war is here on the streets, then of course having crypto on your laptop or on your hardware wallet and taking it with you makes the process of escaping the country with your assets much easier compared with if you have a house or a flat or some, maybe gold even, right? I don't think it is easy to run away with a lot of gold in your hands compared to crypto, of course.